Good morning. I'm Frank Lawlor from Euroleague TV, coming to you live from Madrid, Spain, on the day of the Turkish Airlines Euroleague Championship game between Real Madrid and Olympiacos Piraeus. The two winners from Friday's semifinals meet again after 2 years after they met in the final in London. Of course, that was won by Olympiacos, but it's a whole new situation tonight, and Real Madrid playing on its own floor. We'll try to get some revenge. Let's ask our experts, two former EuroLeague champions, George Zidek and Johnny Rogers, what they see going into the game. And George, you first, you saw what these two teams did on Friday. How do you think they arrived to the final?
Well, Frank, both teams have to be feeling good about themselves. They played great games. Olympiacos came from behind in a dramatic fashion. They beat CSKA Moscow, and Real Madrid played a tough physical game. They get a big challenge from Fenerbahce, but they prevailed. So I assume that both teams are feeling very good about themselves. They got good self-confidence, and I just go back to what all the coaches and players said right after the semifinal. They said, there's only a very short time to celebrate. We are on a mission here because we want to win one more game. We want to go into the championship game and claim the title.
John, as George said, two different types of wins on Friday. Madrid took control early and protected its lead, while Olympiacos made another of the comebacks we're used to seeing them do in the Final Four. Dramatic last few seconds victory, of course, Vasilis Spanoulis. How does that set up each of these teams emotionally for the final?
Well, I think actually both teams come into this game very good because Real Madrid got some contributions from guys you don't really expect. Casey Rivers had a huge game. Nocioni really gave them a lift. Ayon gave them a lift. And then we have the stars that we're accustomed to seeing, Rudy Fernandez, Yul Rodriguez, J.C. Carroll. I expect those guys to come out and have a big game tonight. On the other side, on Olympiacos, of course, Spanoulis was a hero at the end of the game, but his teammates kept them close all the way, and they were able to come back and win that game. So I think both teams come in great shape.
George Zidek, let's talk about the backcourts, which you've been saying over the years have much more impact on the game than before. And of course, as John said, you have Vasilis Spanoulis, the man of the moment when in the big moments of games, as he's proved again and again, and also on Friday night. And you have the four regulars of Real Madrid who have been together for a few years, not only Sergio Rodriguez, Sergio Yui, and Rudy Fernandez, but J.C. Carroll coming off the bench. How do those two backcourts match up?
Well, immediately I have to say great backcourts, so much experience. I think that there's going to have to be a lot of patience there with Olympiacos. Everybody expects Vasilis Spanoulis to be the leader again. He's been doing it for so many past years that it's accustomed that he's going to take care of the ball. He's going to have the ball in his hands majority of the time, and he's going to do all the playmaking and a lot of shots. He started 0 for 11. He was slow, but then he took charge and he managed to lead a comeback for Olympiacos. On the other side, I would single out a name that Johnny said, K.C. Rivers. I think he was a huge factor off the bench. He had 5 3-pointers, and I think that he's so valuable just coming off the bench, being able to hit big shots. He did it in the series against FS in 1 or 2 games. So I think he's a perfect fit. I mean, everybody expects the regulars, the stars to come in the game and be themselves, but I think K.C. Rivers could be the X factor in this game.
John, let's turn our attention to the front courts. And, of course, we saw, as you said, Gustavo Ayon and Andres Nocioni, new players since last year, let alone 2012, who Olympiacos hasn't played against yet, having big roles in the semifinal on Friday. But, of course, Felipe Reyes and some of the other big guys in Madrid waiting for them, while we have Dunston as the leader on the great Olympiacos defense.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to be a war in there. We saw it was very physical. That Real Madrid Fenerbahce game was very physical. The Real Madrid big man ended up with 5 fouls. 3 of them had 5 fouls. Felipe, Slaughter, and Ayon. So I mean, it's going to be a war because we know how Olympiacos plays. It's all physicality. It's all aggressiveness, and it's just going to be a war underneath the boards.
Of course, we can't forget that these two teams played the final in 2012. Much of the rosters, or half of the rosters, have changed, but let's remember that game a little. 17 points up after 1 quarter, Real Madrid, and from there Olympiacos came back and won with 100 points, or almost 100 points as I recall. So they've shown that they could put some points up, even though they're a defensive-minded team, and play with Real Madrid on a point-scoring basis. Plus, they have the defense, and they have five guys who are back from their double champion teams who've done this before. What sort of psychological factor does having done it against Real Madrid 2 years ago do for Olympiacos?
Well, Frank, if there's a team in Euroleague that you would describe as a team that believes, it's Olympiacos. They just never give up. We said in the broadcast in the semifinal game on Friday, it's just a group of guys that refuse to lose, to put their heads down. They just always keep competing. And I think this is going to be the same story today. As John said, and you said it also, it was an extremely physical game by Real Madrid, and I like that. That showed a lot about their character. If you have three of your big guys falling out with 5 fouls, that says that they just met the challenge of physicality of Fenerbahce, and I think this is going to have to be the same attitude they will take into the championship game. Just go in there and meet a physical challenge of Olympiacos. Olympiacos does not have the size of Real Madrid, that's clear, but they play tough, they play quick, and they always believe.
John, the reputation of Real Madrid has always been spectacular, amazing plays. I think they won the other night for the first time in ages without a single alley-oop, if I recall. But the difference in this team is the guys we've mentioned, Ion, Nocioni, even new guys like Machulis and KC Rivers, but on the toughness scale, they're all there now with Felipe Reyes, who didn't have such a great game the other night. Does that extra toughness, somebody said yesterday, it looks like Madrid almost signed players last summer to play against a team like Olympiacos. Do you think it's a better Madrid team this time?
Oh, it's definitely a tougher team because it's got to be one of the most talented teams around, no doubt. But that might have been the one key ingredient they lacked in the last few years, was that toughness, and definitely Andres Nocioni. Ion, you definitely see that character, that toughness. And if you're going to go against a team like Olympiacos that has the toughest spirit, fighting spirit that you're going to see anywhere, you're going to need players like that. You're going to need them to do the same thing. I read all the players' quotes from Real Madrid. They're going to be ready. They know what they're up against. I've never seen an opponent that is so respected like Olympiacos. They're not the most talented player. Nobody talks about their talent. They talk about the way they fight. You know, you have the leader, Spanulis, who characterizes that fighting spirit, but it goes all the way down the roster. All 12 men have that, the coaching staff, and I've never seen a team that's been, you know, everybody knows what they're all about. They don't talk about their talent. They're not going to say, okay, this guy can do that. They're talking about their fighting spirit.
Let me ask you for final comments. What will you be looking at, especially as the game gets going tonight, but trends that you think will influence this game?
Well, with Real Madrid, I'll be looking for physical toughness. I mean, that was one marquee trait that got them through the semifinal. I mean, they just came in there with Gustavo Ion and Andres Nocioni off the bench, and they played tough. I mean, they just said that we're not going to take a step back, and we're going to take charge. So I'll be looking for physical toughness from Real Madrid. Of course, you're looking for also for their outside shooting ability. It was a great shooting night. They shot over 50%. It is a question after such a great shooting night how difficult it is to come back with the same performance. With Olympiacos, I think they will be trying to control tempo. They will try to keep the game as close as possible, the same strategy that they used against CSKA Moscow on Friday. And then at the end, you just give it to the leader. You give it to the Vasilis Spanulis and just hope for the best.
And John, considering how many comebacks Olympiacos has made, the other night it was 6 in the first quarter, 7 in the second, 8 in the third, and 9 in the fourth. They were behind and made up all of those. And of course, the comebacks of previous years. If you're Real Madrid, you want to kind of keep the game close too, not give them too much of an incentive to come back.
Well, you know, no lead is safe with Olympiacos. We've seen that year after year after year. So the one thing I think is very important is they can't let Olympiacos get in their head. They have to continue playing. They have to be calm. They have to play their game. They can't be afraid. We've seen other teams that maybe Olympiacos got in their head and they start worrying. Even though they had a lead, they're playing with too much pressure. And that's what Olympiacos wants. They want a close game. They want it to go down to the end. We're talking about Spanulis, but who can forget about Printezis also? Printezis is there also. He's ready to make big shots.
Okay, there you have it from Johnny Rogers and George Zidek. The final tonight in the Turkish Airlines EuroLeague Final Four. It's the first home team to play for the title in the EuroLeague since 2007, Real Madrid against the comeback kids of Olympiacos Piraeus. It's at 8 p.m. local time, and when it finishes, we will have a new EuroLeague champion. Join us on EuroLeague TV for the final tonight.